In the heart of a bustling city, nestled amidst the humdrum of life, lay an apartment that held secrets, secrets that would soon be unearthed. Picture a city, vibrant and alive, pulsating with energy. Now, imagine an apartment, silent and secluded, a stark contrast to the lively city that surrounds it. This apartment, a time capsule of sorts, belonged to a man who had departed from the world, leaving behind a labyrinth of memories and clutter. The man, a mystery in his own right, had lived alone for decades. An enigma to his neighbors, he kept to himself, with no known friends or relatives to share his life with. His existence was as solitary as the apartment he inhabited. His life was as cluttered as the apartment he lived in. This apartment, a reflection of his life, was an assortment of chaos and clutter. Stacks of newspapers from years gone by, piles of unwashed dishes, and rooms filled with knickknacks and memorabilia collected over the years. The air was thick with dust and the musty scent of time standing still. Every corner of the apartment was a testament to the man's solitary existence, a silent witness to his lonely life. Despite the man's departure from this world, his presence was palpable. His life, though gone, echoed through the cluttered rooms, whispered through the stacks of old letters, and resonated in the silence of the apartment. His existence might have been solitary, but his absence had sparked curiosity. The apartment had become a focal point, drawing attention to its hidden secrets and the life of its deceased owner. It was as if the apartment, in its cluttered state, was waiting to tell a story that had been hidden away for decades. The man was gone, but the remnants of his life lingered on, waiting to reveal a disturbing secret. As the authorities stepped into the apartment, they were greeted not by silence but by whispers of a life lived in solitude. There was an undeniable air of mystery that hung heavy as the investigators began their work, navigating through the labyrinth of clutter, each piece a silent testament to the man's solitary existence. The pile of newspapers stacked high, yellowed with age, bore dates stretching back decades. The overflowing bookshelves groaned under the weight of hundreds of books, their pages dog-eared and well-worn, suggesting a life devoted to the written word. The investigators, undeterred by the daunting task before them, pressed on, each step further into the apartment, revealing more about the enigmatic man who had once called this place home. As they moved deeper into the apartment, the authorities were met with more obstacles. The sheer volume of accumulated belongings made it difficult to maneuver, and the dust that had settled over the years caused fits of coughing, further hindering their progress. But no amount of dust or clutter could deter them. They were resolute in their mission to unravel the mystery that shrouded this man's life. They started sifting through the clutter methodically, each item examined with meticulous detail. Every photograph, every letter, every piece of memorabilia was a potential clue. The investigators knew they were not just rifling through a pile of old belongings. They were piecing together a puzzle that was as intriguing as it was confounding. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Each new discovery, no matter how small, added another layer to the enigma. Even though the task was arduous, the investigators remained undeterred. Their determination was fueled by a growing sense of intrigue. What secrets did this apartment hold? What stories were buried beneath the years of accumulated clutter? As the hours ticked by, the investigators remained as determined as ever, their resolve unbroken. The apartment, once a fortress of solitude, was slowly revealing its secrets. The investigators were getting closer to the truth, but the truth was proving to be more elusive than they had anticipated. Little did they know, they were on the brink of a discovery that would send chills down their spine. As they delved deeper into the chaos, every item they uncovered was a story waiting to be told. Each object, each piece of paper, every scrap of fabric was a clue to the life of a man who had lived in silence and solitude. This wasn't just an investigation, it was an excavation into the life of a man lost in time. Every layer of clutter peeled back unveiled another era of this man's life. There were gadgets from the 80s, magazines from the 90s, and a whole heap of expired coupons from the early 2000s. It was like walking through a time capsule, each item a testament to the passing decades. The authorities, patient and determined, sifted through the mountain of artifacts. Their hands, dusted with the grime of yesteryears, held up objects to the light, seeking answers in the mundane. The job was painstaking, requiring a level of grit that was commendable. But they pressed on, their resolve unbroken. The air was thick with suspense, the dust particles dancing in the slanting rays of the afternoon sun, adding a touch of the ethereal. The silence in the apartment was almost eerie, broken only by the rustling of paper and the occasional soft thud of a discarded object. Yet there was a sense of anticipation, a feeling that something was lurking in the shadows. Hints began to emerge, cryptic and puzzling. An unusual collection of antique keys, a box full of unopened letters, a diary filled with nonsensical ramblings. Things that didn't quite add up, instilling an unsettling feeling in the hearts of those present. Each item they unearthed seemed to whisper, to hint at a secret hidden deep within the layers of the past. In the midst of this mind-boggling chaos, the investigators continued their relentless pursuit of truth. Their dedication, their unwavering focus, was a beacon of light in the gloom of the apartment. They were aware that they were not just rummaging through a pile of clutter. They were peeling back the layers of a life that held a secret. The apartment was silent, but its contents screamed of a secret yet to be unearthed. Finally, amidst the clutter and chaos, they found something that made their hearts pound in their chests. As they sifted through the last remnants of a life lived in solitude, the authorities stumbled upon an unexpected find. Hidden in a small, dusty corner of the room, buried under stacks of old newspapers and discarded possessions, lay a box. It wasn't particularly large or ornate, just a simple wooden box, but the air around it felt heavy, laden with a story yet to be told. The officer in charge, a hardened veteran of 20 years, paused. His hand hovered over the box, his instincts screaming warnings that echoed in the silent room. He had seen a lot in his years, but nothing quite prepared him for what this box held. With a deep breath, he opened it. Inside, nestled amongst layers of aged paper, was a collection of items that sent a chill running down their spines. Unsettling, eerie, and deeply disturbing. Each item was a piece of a puzzle, each more perplexing and unsettling than the last. There were no names, no dates, no clear connections, but the very presence of these items in this lonely apartment painted a haunting picture. The room fell silent as they processed the sight before them. The cluttered apartment, once just a testament to a solitary existence, now felt like a crypt of dark secrets. They exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of their discovery hanging heavily in the air. As they began to examine the items more closely, the reality of their find started to sink in. This was no ordinary discovery. This was a window into a life that was far more complex and potentially far darker than they had initially imagined. The officers left the apartment that day with more questions than answers. The sun had set, casting long, eerie shadows across the room, turning the harmless clutter into grotesque shapes. They closed the door behind them, leaving the secrets of the apartment to the night. What they found was not just disturbing, it was a revelation that shook them to their core. As they stared at the disturbing discovery, the truth of the man's life began to unfold. In the heart of this cluttered apartment, nestled amongst the stacks of unread newspapers and untouched memorabilia, the authorities found something that stopped them in their tracks. A collection of meticulously hand-drawn portraits, each one more haunting than the last. Every face was unfamiliar, yet each was etched with such precision it felt as though they were staring back at you. But it wasn't the artistry that was disturbing, it was the sheer volume. Hundreds of portraits, each dated and signed by our solitary man. The revelation sent a ripple of shock through the team. Here was a man thought to have lived alone, away from the world, and yet he had been sketching faces, day after day, year after year. Who were these people? Were they figments of his imagination or real individuals he had once known? The discovery raised more questions than answers. The man's life, previously considered unremarkable, was now a mystery waiting to be solved. The portraits were a testament to his talent, but also a poignant reflection of his loneliness. Here was a man who had chosen to surround himself not with people, but with the echoes of faces etched in paper. As the team delved further into the apartment, the portraits became a constant, a silent audience to their investigation. Each one seemed to hold a piece of the man's story, a story that was slowly beginning to unravel. The solitary man, once thought to have lived a life of seclusion, was now seen in a new light. His solitude was not a choice, but a consequence. A consequence of a life lived in the shadows, a life filled with secrets, hidden in plain sight amidst the clutter of his apartment. In the end, the man's life was not just a story of solitude, but a tale of secrets, hidden amidst the clutter of his apartment. Y'all, we're wrapping up here, but don't you go anywhere just yet. Show some love, hit that like button. Fancy more content like this? Go on, subscribe and let that bell icon ring so you won't miss a beat. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next time, stay tuned.